Well, I hope it's been a great week for you, and I hope you had a chance to practice telling someone about life's most important relationship. The relationship you're created to have, you don't have, you can have because of Jesus, and you must choose. And I know the sharing of those experiences is a very important component as you share those with one another. And what did we learn from that experience? And I just want to compliment you and honor you so much for taking these steps of faith and courage. Every rescue takes a great deal of courage on the part of the rescuer. And remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the disregard of it. Imagine, we started a few weeks ago and we were just talking about our desire for a life that matters and a greater significance and to make a greater difference with the rest of our life than we've made up until now. And we've come down this journey to understand there's no greater difference we could ever make than to help someone be in heaven with us. And you've taken so many steps in that direction already. And today we want to talk about the most powerful way to get started telling about Jesus. And it has everything to do with your personal hope story. If you look at commercials these days, you begin to get an idea of how products get sold to people. For example, Subway sandwich shops. Now, there are now more of them than there are McDonald's. How did there get to be so many Subway shops? How did it get to be so popular? Well, there was a guy named Jared. Did you ever see him? The guy who lost 300 pounds? He lost a person out of his pants because he ate at Subway. He ate turkey sandwiches there, and they have Jared selling Subway. He's kind of like saying, hey, you eat here, and this is the difference it will make. It doesn't matter if they're selling toothpaste or deodorant or weight loss programs. Everything they show you is about the difference it will make. That's what people want to know. They don't necessarily want to know all the qualities of the product, all the details, all the ingredients. Tell me, what difference will this make? And that's what people need to know about Jesus. What difference does he make in your life? How does he change things? And that story is your hope story. There's a wonderful example of that in John chapter 9, where the blind man comes and says, once I was blind, but now I can see. This is what it was like before Jesus. This is what it was like after Jesus now. And he's got all these religious leaders saying, well, tell us about what you believe about Jesus. What's your Christology? What's your Sabbathology, you know? And he says, look, here's what I do know. I was blind. Now I can see. In between, Jesus. Now you figure it out from there. He knew how to tell his BCAD story. The powerful story of the difference Jesus has made. You know, some people think that when you give your hope story, maybe in Christianese we'd call it a testimony, all we tell about is how our relationship with Jesus began. If somebody came to me, a young man, and said, tell me about marriage. What is marriage like? And I said, well, would you like to see my wedding pictures? I'll show you how it started. White dress, beautiful girl, tux. No. They need to know more than how it began. He needs to know what the relationship in marriage is like. That's what he wants to know. Sometimes all we do is tell about how our relationship with Jesus began. I was 4 years old. I was in the sandbox. A shaft of light came down. I accepted Jesus. I gave up sex and drugs and rock and roll, or whatever. I was 17. I was 22. Well, that's okay. You can tell about that. But the real issue is, what difference does he make now? You say, well, you know what? I have a problem here. I don't think I have a hope story because I was sort of prenatally nice, and I didn't have any big BCAD thing happen. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't in the mafia, Well, you have a hope story. What if you were to take a sheet of paper and at the top put, if it weren't for Jesus? Now begin to describe your life without Jesus. What would your lonely times be like? There's no Jesus. Your stressful times. What kind of dad would you be? What kind of mom? What kind of husband? What kind of wife? What kind of single person would you be? There's no Jesus. How about at the funeral? There's no Jesus. Start to think about the difference Jesus is making in all those different parts of your life. We're going to take some time to begin to understand our hope stories right here in the room today, because it's the story only you can tell. It is your unique story. And it gives you something to begin with as you begin to tell your hope story to them. You see, that's something they can't argue with. They can't say, no, Jesus didn't do that for you. They might not agree with all you say about having life's most important relationship, but they can't disagree with your experience. Now, your hope story isn't the gospel, but it is the most powerful introduction to the gospel there is. So what is your hope story? And how can you begin to explain what life is like and the difference Jesus has made? Your hope story. This is going to be a very important next few minutes, and I'll see you on the other side. Wow, do you have a story to tell? And that story could be used by God to open up a heart that desperately needs to have the hope of Jesus Christ. You know the power of a hope story? John chapter 4, verse 39. It says of the woman of Samaria, she went back to a hostile Samaritan village. And it says many of those Samaritans believed in Jesus because of the woman's testimony. She said, come see a man. I'm going to ask you for an assignment this week to do something very important and maybe life-changing for you and for the other person. I'd like you to pray for an opportunity, look for and take an opportunity to tell your hope story to someone you know who doesn't know your Jesus. Now, this would be a good time to pray the three open prayer again, wouldn't it? Lord, open a door, a natural opportunity for me to do that. Lord, open their heart. They'll be ready to hear it. Lord, open my mouth. Give me the courage and give me the words to be able to represent you well. So how does it work as we tell somebody we know about Jesus? Well, it may go something like this. First of all, their story. As you build a relationship with them, you begin to find out where the holes are in their life, where their battles are, where their hurts are, their needs. And you know their story. You respond to their story with your hope story. You win the right to be heard by listening to them. And there's something in your hope story that tells the difference Jesus can make in the place they are in their life. So it's their story, and then it's your story, which leads to his story. Your hope story and God's love story. Because you can actually embed the good news of Jesus right in the telling of your hope story. As you say, here is what changed my life when I realized that I was created by him and for him, and that there was a relationship that I was created to have and I didn't have. You can go right into the presentation of life's most important relationship, launched from the incredibly personal launch pad of your hope story. So this week, tell your hope story to someone who doesn't know Christ. We'll have a chance to talk about that next week and understand the power of that hope story. The book of Revelation chapter 12 tells us this, that they overcame the devil by the word of their testimony and by the blood of the Lamb, literally breaking the hold that Satan has on someone's life with the power of your hope story and the story of the sacrifice Jesus made so they could be with him forever. Have a great rescue week.